Tony Mazzoli.
I started experimenting with drugs when I was very young, and Jenna saw that and followed right in my footsteps.
I loved acid, and that was about all I wanted to do. I tried pot, hated it. I always got the spins and felt like I was going to throw up.
One of my favorite activities was taking 4 or 5 hits of acid and just walking the streets of Vegas. Half the time that I would do that, Jenna would just follow behind me, making sure I didn't walk into traffic.
I did acid for quite a long time. I really liked the feeling. I felt invincible, and I felt happy. And that was a departure for me, because a lot of my life, I've been unhappy.
High school junior busted out.
I left my house when I was 16 years old. Because there was so much anger inside me. I was angry that no one realized the pain that I had gone through in my life. No one cared to know.
Except Jenna's new boyfriend. Or so she thought.
I moved in with him. God, what a bad decision. That was the beginning of the end. Little did I know that I was stepping into a world of drugs, sex, and dirtiness. I just dove deeper into drugs.
Jenna turned from control freak to speed freak. She agreed to pose while her boyfriend snapped provocative photos. Jenna then applied for a gig as a dancer.
I started off doing speed, 1 line a day. Just a little pick-me-up, no big deal. Then it got to be, okay, 5 or 6 lines. Then it became non-stop to the point where my nose hurt. Finally, I went to Vegas World and I got the job. I don't know how I got it, but I got it.
Dancing at the Vegas World Casino soon lost its glamour.
So I had a discussion with my boyfriend. I said, this is horrible, I'm gonna quit, I can't take it anymore. He said, well, why don't you just go strip at the Crazy Horse? It's pretty much the same thing, it's only topless. And I came to the conclusion that it was something that I wanted to do.
And now I am going to give you a tour of my tattoos.
Jenna seemed less concerned about the health risks of unprotected sex.
I don't think I was thinking incredibly clearly about the ramifications of doing what I was doing. And then I remember looking up at him and a little bead of sweat dropped down onto my nose. I was like, ew, disgust. And I got up and I ran. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. This is totally disgusting. He sweated on me. So then my boyfriend introduced smoking speed to me, which was the worst thing he could have done, because when you smoke speed, it makes you want it so much more every 5 minutes. And for my little heart, I mean, I was just a mess. I couldn't eat. I weighed 80 pounds. My life was crumbling around me.
Jenna's fragile self-esteem plummeted faster than her weight.
And I was so alone. I didn't know where my dad was. I didn't know where Jenna went. I didn't know what I was gonna do. And one day, my boyfriend came to me and he said, I'm leaving you. And I remember getting to the point where I'm like, I have to suck it up. And I have to call my dad. He said, you don't sound good. Are you okay? I'm like, Daddy, no, I'm not okay. I'm hooked on drugs and I want to quit. I said, Dad, I can't make the drive. I'm too sick. I hadn't eaten in weeks, and I couldn't even get up and walk. So I said, Dad, I'm gonna fly. I have a friend that will take me to the airport and walk me to the gate.
Jenna's dad picked her up at the terminal in Reading.
And when she got off the plane, I was absolutely floored. She only weighed about 75 pounds, extremely sick, very weak, had to come off the plane in a wheelchair.
And I remember being so ill that I couldn't look my dad in the eye. I was embarrassed because I was always the strong one. Sorry.
Jenna made a deal with Wicked Pictures that called for a heavy workload.
That contract committed me to 8 films a year for 1 year with an option for another year. I was paid per picture when I first signed with Wicked. I was making $6,000 a movie. That sounded like huge money to me at that time.
But a happy ending was nowhere in sight. By January 1997, reality set in for 22-year-old Jenna Jameson. Her new husband, Rodney Hopkins, was clearly not the right guy.
For me.
Worse, Jenna and Rod worked together on several videos for Wicked Pictures.
He began to direct some of her movies, and Rod is one of the most difficult taskmasters there is to work for.
They started having some issues, but he was still our director, and she was still our big actress. So it definitely created some inner conflict, and it made it difficult.
We have a special file, it's called a stalker file, and we have it for fan mail.
Jenna's administrative assistant, Linda Johnson.
We receive a lot of mail from people who are really obsessed with her, and it's frightening.
People send you pictures of their rooms, and it's a collage, floor to ceiling, and the whole ceiling covered of Jenna. And you're like, doo-doo, you're all cuckoo, cuckoo.
AT&T Broadband has only gotten bigger with its pending $72 billion merger with cable competitor Comcast. The new AT&T Comcast Corporation would be the nation's biggest cable outfit, and with C. Michael Armstrong in charge for now, it will be porn's biggest pipeline.
Cable companies and satellite companies take approximately 80% plus of the adult dollar that gets spent by the consumer.
For AT&T, porn distribution is great business, but you might not know it from reading the company's annual report. There's no mention of adult material, nor how much it contributes to the company's bottom line. But it's no secret to Wall Street.
If you look at how much money is coming in from adult, remember there's virtually no cost to AT&T for carrying it. And if he's generating $10 million, $20 million a month, that's virtually all found money going into the bottom line. So it can be a significant amount. 20 million times 12 months, that's a lot of bread.
Okay, you want to pay $52 for $4,300? I got you, baby.
Pornography's new acceptability in corporate America has made it an amenity in many of the nation's hotel chains. Then, in the early 1990s, federal porn prosecutions essentially stopped when a new administration with different priorities took over the Justice Department.
What we tried to do is to take the resources that we had and establish priorities. I suppose somebody could decide to use all their resources for obscenity prosecutions and not for other matters. It seems to me clearly that national security and human life free of violence are two very important priorities.
Under Attorney General Reno, federal prosecutions slowed dramatically, and the Obscenity Task Force effectively went out of business.
As a result, the industry burgeoned, and numbers and numbers of companies sprouted up everywhere to meet the demand, because there's a huge demand from millions to billions.
The hotel needs to provide television as an amenity to the consumer. If it's a businessman, he probably wants to see adult. So this is a way of keeping that consumer happy.
It's an offering, much like in a hotel.
And General Motors sold its stake in DirecTV to Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation. They continue to offer pornography channels.
Jenna climbed into bed with the most unlikely people. On August 26, 2002, Jameson butted heads with Bill O'Reilly on the Fox Network news show, The O'Reilly Factor.
When I was first contacted to be on the Bill O'Reilly show, I initially said absolutely not. But then I sat down and I talked to Jay, and he said, Jenna, this is something that you really need to do in defense of the industry.
She goes, he's going to chew me up and spit me out. He's not nice to people. I go, Jenna, everyone respects you. Don't even stress about it.
I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. And I went to New York, and I don't think I've ever been so nervous in my life.
It is incredible but true that Americans spend more on X-rated movies than they do on Major League Baseball, NFL football, and NBA basketball all put together. In fact, the porn industry rakes in about $14 billion a year in the USA. And millions of that goes to a young woman named Jenna Jameson, who gets paid for having sex with strangers. So what's the difference between Miss Jameson and a call girl?
The minute I sat down in that chair, all the fear left me. When I looked him in the eye, I looked at him like he was my equal, and he didn't scare me.
Still, O'Reilly did his best to intimidate Jenna, but she held her own, and then some.
People look twice at me saying, oh, that's bad, you should be ashamed. And I don't believe in it. It's empowering to me.
I was able to fire back very easily, and I think it really surprised him that I was so forthcoming and honest about the things that I've done in my career. And I think it kind of threw him off guard.
O'Reilly, you referred to her as a slut a couple of times, and that bothered me because Jenna isn't a slut. She's a businesswoman.
Fox News writer-producer Marvin Himmelfarb.
Bill challenged her, what he did, calling her a prostitute and things such as that, and she answered, every question. Bill, in the end, was impressed with her. He probably wouldn't say that, but I think he really was.
Bill O'Reilly was very judgmental of me during the interview. He was trying to make trivial points that everybody in America already knows. And when those cameras shut off, he looked at me and he was like, yeah, it was a really great interview. I've never watched your movies before. Will you send me a few? I'm like thinking to myself, hot damn, this is perfect, because if he ever slams me again, I've got ammunition.
That was Jameson. And I was like, Jameson whiskey.
Now for the most ridiculous item of the day, our pal, porn star Jenna Jameson is mad at me for criticizing the Pony sneaker company for hiring her as a pitch woman. Jenna emailed us today and said, in part, I hope Bill understands the difference between a porn star and a hooker. I assume he has done some research on the subject because he requested some of my videos after we finished taping my appearance. I imagine he wanted them for professional reasons. Of course I did, Jenna. Having any other motivation would be ridiculous.
I made a choice that selling oneself and compromising one's integrity is worth it for whatever amount of money. That lack of value, that moral relativism, will be passed on to her children.
UCLA psychology professor Gail Wyatt suggests adult videos fuel a nationwide sex epidemic.
We need to be responsible sexual beings as adults and model for our children and for future generations the way that they can stay healthy, to be protective of themselves and to be selective and not feel that sex is a sport.
Feminist author Tammy Bruce.
Pornography plays a big role in an image of women as objects to be used, as objects that exist for men's pleasure. It dehumanizes women.
When Jenna appeared in public, the wackos came out of the woodwork.
Every night I go to the hotel from the club, I am followed by at least 6 or 7 guys.
It's very risky being on the road, especially for Jenna because of her broad spectrum of fans. You always get the stalkers.
Jenna's friend and co-star, Brianna Banks.
You've always got to be on very high guard when you're at clubs, especially Jenna.
2 or 3 in the morning, I have guys trying to break my door down. And you feel so helpless.
Obviously, one of the biggest concerns when you get in the adult industry is, what am I going to tell my kids?
Having to explain to your children why you did it and no longer might do it, and why you don't want them to do it, is really the challenge. Because many children will ask their parents, if you did it, why can't I?
The fact that Jenna wants a child, like most women do in this nation, is fine. But if she's saying she wants to stop her work, well, does that mean she's not proud of it?
That they're
One of the reasons Jenna has been so successful in the adult video business is because she's kept her mind on track.
Getting big movies.
Cinematographer Jay Gerdina knew all about Hurricane Jenna. She first blew onto his soundstage 3 years earlier.
When I first met Jenna, I thought she was very cute, but I thought she was young and a little bratty.
He owned a film studio that we shot a lot of my movies at, and I would always see him running around like a maniac.
She'd come on set and she would control the crew. You know, I'm like, no one's going to come on my set and tell me what to do, especially talent.
I wanted to be the head of my own company.
When we came up with the concept of Club Jenna, we wanted to mainstream and brand Jenna's name.
I'm the one and only girl in the industry that has realized the benefits of merchandising.
Early 1990s, Jenna Mazzoli ping-ponged between two different high schools in Las Vegas. The petite young blonde wasn't much of a student, but she got straight A's in drugs. Jenna's brother...
That was Jameson. And I was like, Jameson whiskey. Okay, that's perfect. So that night I went to work, I saw my brother. I was like, Tony, what do you think? What do you think about Jenna Jameson? He was like, I'm drinking Jameson right now. And it just stuck after that.
Jenna Jameson also lived up to the nickname Heartbreaker. She teased her customers at the club unmercifully. But deep inside, Jenna's own heart was breaking.
After I left home, my father moved. And that was earth-shattering to me. My father leaving felt like he was abandoning me.
Larry Mazzoli was living in Redding, California, just a day's drive from Las Vegas. To Jenna, it seemed like a million miles away.
There was so much anger. I had lost my mother, and I had felt abandoned by that. And then to have my father leave me in my time of need, which is what I thought at that time, killed me.